Okay, you guys, this is project number 2, and for this project, I grabbed me a cafecito in my little cute Pan Dulce mug that I bought last year on Etsy. It's gonna go perfect with this project. I got my Dunkin' Vanilla coffee going on, and in this video, I am going to be showing you how I make my Concha Ornaments. Look at these, guys. They are so adorable. This is a Concha ornament that I call the gender reveal Concha ornament just because it's in pink and it's in baby blue. However, you can use any color ribbon that you'd like. I also do make gender reveal Concha earrings, which are adorable. Maybe one of these days I will show you guys how I make them in a future video. So to get started, I'm grabbing my supplies. First of all, this cookie cutter that is in the shape of an ornament. And I am getting this cake piping tip tool to use as a cutout. And then I grabbed my gold Sculpey clay and my pink glitter Sculpey clay. Both are Sculpey 3. I like Sculpey 3 because it is easy to use. It's not too hard, it's not too soft. So you always want to start off by conditioning your clay. And I have this machine here. It's a clay machine that I bought last year at Hobby Lobby for $30, and I use it for all my clay projects. It works amazing. The clay never gets stuck when you run it through the machine. It's easy to clean, and it has different settings so you can set to your thickness of the clay that you would like. So again, you condition the clay every time you're going to work with polymer clay. You condition it to make it the consistency that you like. You want to make sure that you roll out and smooth out any bumps that could be in the clay. And then you're going to just run it through your clay machine. And you're going to probably want to run it a couple of times, just depending. Like in this case, the clay came out thin, so I'm going to overlap it, and I'm going to just roll it through the machine again. You roll it through the machine again to remove any lines and just to make it as smooth and soft as possible. So that looks pretty good, but I am going to run it just one more time because there was a line on the clay that I want to remove. Okay, so that looks good. There you go. That's what it looks like after you run it through the machine. Okay, so I lay it down on my parchment paper that I got at Dollar Tree. I like using parchment paper because the clay doesn't stick to the paper when you're working on it. And then I'm going to grab my ornament, Christmas tree ornament that I bought at Michael's, and I'm grabbing some Ziploc plastic. You can use any plastic, but I had a Ziploc bag next to me, so I went ahead and grabbed that. And you're going to place the Ziploc bag over the clay, and you're going to smooth it out. And then you're going to place your cookie cutter over the clay, and you're going to press down to cut out your shape. And the reason I do this is so that the clay does not stick to the cookie cutter. This is a hack I learned from another YouTuber who was working on polymer clay, and this is an amazing hack, guys, because trust me, I learned from my mistakes. Every time I would use a cookie cutter, whether it was this metal material or plastic, it would get stuck to the clay, and it was really annoying. So I'm glad that I learned this hack. Okay, so you removed the Ziploc bag, and then you see how easily the clay was removed. And then what you do is you pick up the parchment paper a little bit, and then you slowly start to pick up your clay piece. Now in this situation, it did stick a little to the parchment paper, but for the most part, once you lift it up a little bit of it, it just came off easily. And there you go. Now what I'm doing is I am just using my finger to smooth out the edges of the ornament because the clay cutter did give it a little bit of rough edging. But that's okay, not a big deal. You just smooth out the edges with your finger. That's all you do. And then after you do that, it looks good, and There you go. There you go. Now it looks really, really good. Just a little bit more tapping of the edges to get those little uneven bumps out, and that's it. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the next part. Okay, put that aside, and then you're going to wash your hands, or you're going to use hand wipes so that way you don't have any of the gold clay on your hands. Hand wipes are great to have because when you're using polymer clay, you have to wash your hands after using a certain color of clay, and it can be annoying and exhausting to get up every single time to go wash your hands. So hand wipes are a must in this situation. Little sip of my cafecito, and let's get started on the next part. Okay, so the same process, the same step as before. I'm grabbing my Sculpey 3 clay. Again, it's in the color pink glitter. I am conditioning it, rolling it out, smoothing it out, and grabbing my machine again, my clay machine, and I am just going to run the clay through the machine. I'm going to flatten out a piece. I'm doing the exact same thing I did for the gold clay. So I overlap the pink clay like I did with the gold, and I run it through the clay machine one more time. And there you go. There you go. That is exact size that I need. And then I grab my piping tip tool again to cut out a circular shape. This time I did not use Ziploc plastic because this tool did not stick to the clay. Okay, and then you're going to remove the clay from the tool. I did, however, have to grab another little tool to just push it out from the other side. But no biggie, no biggie. And there you go, you have your circular shape, and with my fingers, I am just smoothing out the edges. Your fingers do make a great tool as well when using polymer clay. Your fingers help to smoothen out edges of the clay and help shape the clay. Okay, I'm grabbing my tool again, and now it's time to cut out the crescents. So I'm going to cut out 4 pieces of crescent shaped clay, and I'm just eyeballing it. And the first piece, you apply it to the top part of the ornament. You repeat the same step, just a different size. It's going to be a little smaller. You want to make sure you don't cut yourself with the top of the piping tip tool because it does have rough, jagged edges that are sharp. You don't want to cut your finger. Okay. The third part you apply, and then there's one more piece. This piece had a little bit of rough edges, so I'm just smoothing out the edges with my finger. And there was a little piece of some kind of thread on the clay, so I'm just removing it with the needle tool. Don't know how that got in there. No biggie. Shaping out, smoothing out the edges to your last piece. And when it looks good, you just apply it to the bottom of the other 3 pieces. Okay? Okay, so you're starting to get your concha shape. See how that's starting to look like a concha? Just a couple more steps to get the rest of the concha shape completed. Grab your piping tool again, and you're going to cut out 2 more crescents. Or shall I say, you're going to shape the top of the pink clay with this piping tool. Okay, and you kind of just have to eyeball it. You have to eyeball it. So here we go with the first shape. You want to be very careful because you only have one shot at this. and I found that the tool did not stick to the clay, so the pieces didn't come off, which is amazing. If the pieces would have came off, that would have been annoying and you would probably had to have started all over. Okay, I grabbed the other cookie cutter that was a little bit larger to make the second shape, because the first one was not big enough. And again, just eyeballing it and being very careful that I cut out the shape that I want and that I don't cut and press too hard on the clay. Okay, looks good, looks good. That's what it looks like. All right, see how it started to look like a concha? Okay, and then again with your fingers and a hard bristle brush that I got at Dollar Tree, you're going to use it to add some texture to your concha, to make it look more realistic and to hide any imperfections like lines on the clay or anything like that. So you just want to, gently dab on the clay, give it some texture, and you do this until you get the shape and texture of the concha that you like. Adding some texture does make the concha look a little bit more realistic, and adding some texture also helps remove any bumps or lines from the clay, any imperfections, and you just keep repeating this step until you get the concha to look the way you want.
Okay, so this is what it looks like, and the next step is to bake it. I bake all my clay in a toaster oven. I do not use a regular conventional oven because what could happen is that the fumes of the clay are toxic and they can, be released into the oven, and that's not a good thing. So you want to have your own separate toaster oven or little oven, to bake your clay. You want to bake the clay according to your clay instructions. So I bake mine for 15 minutes in my toaster oven, and that's going to be the next step. So after it is done baking, we'll be back.
Okay, so I baked the clay in the toaster oven for 10 minutes at 250 degrees, and this is what they look like when they are done. After they come out of the oven, you let them cool down, you gloss them with Sculpey Gloss, you add your ribbon, and this is what they look like when they are done. I added a red ribbon to one of them just to give it a Christmas vibe. These make cute gifts and ornaments for your Christmas tree.